Okay, today we're going to do a real basic introduction into some photo editing software. If you have Photoshop, great, but I'm going to show you a couple free options today. So the most powerful one is GIMP. We'll just start with that one since I have my Mac out here. GIMP is a very powerful program. It's very similar to Photoshop, but it's free. And it doesn't have all the Adobe plugins that go along with it, but it offers a lot of what Photoshop has to offer. So basically, just go to Google and type in GIMP, G-I-M-P, download if you want, and CNET. You can go to GIMP itself or go to CNET. It's a lot more user-friendly. Again, it's for Mac or PC. Here's your Windows version. Here's your Mac version. So you can click download now, and it'll start doing that right there. All right. Go ahead and stop that. So once you have that downloaded, you can go ahead and open that up. All right, so it's a little dog here with the paintbrush. The interface is going to look like this. It'll open up. You have your toolbar here. Your photo that you're going to import will be here, and then you have your different layers and histogram and opacity and all that you can change. So let's just do a real basic introduction. We're going to open up a file. All right. And let's see. Go ahead. I'll go ahead and use this one. Okay. So here's my photo that I'm going to be working with. I've already shot this black and white and everything, so maybe you just want to add a border and you want to print it. Say you want to print it 8 by 10. Well, you're going to have to modify it a little bit because our cameras, we generally don't have it set up actually 8 by 10. Our aspect ratio is a little different. So go ahead and make a crop. Choose this rectangular tool here. Right? And go ahead and make your rectangle. Don't worry about being too precise because you can change it. All right, so if I want to look at my aspect ratio, if you see right here down at the bottom, all right, if I want an 8 by 10 portrait style, that's going to be 8 divided by 10, which will be 0.8. So I need to make this, right now it's 0.77, I need to make this a 0.8. All right, so there it is, 0.8. You can kind of take a look at it if you're happy with it. Remember your rule of thirds. I want a little bit of this up here though. I just want this contrast a tiny bit. I'll sacrifice a little bit of the arm. There's my 0.8. Maybe I'll go ahead and use that right there. So this is actually an 8 by 10. Okay, this is the correct aspect ratio for 8 by 10. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and go to image, crop to selection because it's the selection I made. Go ahead and crop that, and there it is. You can be done here if you'd like, but if you might want to add a border, a little white border, I would suggest if you're going to print them out. So again, you have your rectangular tool. Go ahead and make yourself a nice little border here. And once you have that, right now, what is inside of the rectangle is selected. So what you need to do is go to select invert. And now this border around here is selected. All right. And then after you do that, you can just go to go to edit, fill with foreground color or background color. Well, if you look over here, this is your foreground, which is black. This is your background, which is white. We want to fill it with this background. And you can change these colors however you want. There's many different ways to change these selections. but we don't want to do that. So we're going to go to fill with background color, and boom, we have our white border. Okay, and this just makes it easier when you go to matte your photograph. All right. Let's bring another picture and we'll go over some real basic edits. I'll take this shot. Okay, so we have this one here. Now this is landscape. This is a little different. Now if you wanted to print this out and you want to crop it, go ahead and make your selection. Say here. Now landscape's a little different. 8 by 10 portrait is 8 divided by 10, which is 0.8. Landscape orientation is the opposite. It's 10 divided by 8, so that's actually 1.25. You need to have a 1.25 if you're going to do landscape. So we're going to need to push this down as much as possible, push this up there, and now you see we're right here. All right, so this image isn't going to quite work the way it's set up right now. All right, it's a very wide photograph. Okay, but maybe you're not printing it. Okay, so maybe I just want to crop it out. Here we go. Bring it down a little bit. Perfect. All right. So I go to my crop tool. And that's cropped out. Okay. So maybe I want to change a few things. Let's go to our colors. Here's a few basic ones you're going to start with. Hue and saturation. These are your main color corrections. Okay. So there's all these different colors, or you can go with the master, right? The master controls all the colors you see here. So if I go ahead and desaturate that, it'll give you a nice preview. It'll turn it black and white. Okay. And you can toggle between preview and the original image, just so you can check it out really quick. All right. So you can do all of these. And so that's the master selection. Maybe you just want to really bring out these blue right here. It's going to, there you go. Maybe you want to saturate the blues. Okay. So there's your color correction. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of there. And you also have brightness and contrast. Okay. Contrast will make your whites whiter, your dark colors darker. Be careful because it'll start to get very, look like it was edited. And the more you do it, obviously the more effect it has. So be careful because grains will come up. But they do produce some pretty neat images sometimes. But add contrast to add a little bit more dynamic to your shot. And you can also bring up brightness and all that. Okay, so once you have your image, all right, you're gonna be ready to save it. All right, so after you've played around with it and done all these things, there's all kinds of different tool selectors here. There's airbrushes, just tons of different selectors here. And for instance, if you did airbrush and maybe you want it to be there, we're all set. And now your pointer turns into an airbrush and you can start making all kinds of things, right? Okay, so maybe this is perfect and you want to go ahead and save it. You're not going to save as, you're going to actually export it, right? Because if you save it, it'll save it as a GIMP image. You probably want to save it as a JPEG, right? So go ahead and export as. You're going to rename it, whatever you want. Say car, put it wherever you want, put it on my desktop. And right here, you're going to change it to JPEG if that's what you want. You can change it to other things too, but JPEG is usually the most common. Go ahead and change that to JPEG. Go ahead and hit export. And I always like to go ahead and bump my quality up to 100%. Okay, once you do that, make sure everything else is good. Go ahead and hit export, and that file is going to be all done and show up wherever on your desktop or wherever you designated to put it. All right, so that's a real basic introduction to GIMP, and I'll continue on with another tutorial in the next one. Okay, the next tutorial I'm going to show you just real quick is irfanview. This is only a PC-based photo editing program, but it's very easy to use. I just want to introduce you to it. There's plenty of different photo editing programs out there. irfanview is just one of many, but it has the easiest interface, so I really want to just share this one with you. All right, so you'll open up irfanview. Yeah, it's irfanview. All right, so you'll get to this blank screen here. And go to File, just open up a file. Let's see, I'll go ahead and just take this one here. All right, so you have this basic photo here. It has all your crop tools. It's very easy. Just go ahead, get right into it. There's no selector or anything. Go ahead and select. Now remember, if you want to do a 8x10 or something like that, pay close attention to this up here. 8x10 portrait style would be 0.8, right? So we're right there, and I'm at 0.8 right there. That would be an 8x10. Okay, so once you have your selection, just go to image, or I'm sorry, edit, and you're going to crop selection right here, and there you are. It's cropped. If you want to add a border, so your cropping is under edit, and everything else is under image. The main things you're going to mess around here with is color corrections, right? And then there's different effects and all that. I wouldn't really recommend them. Some can be useful though. But maybe you want to add a border. All right, if you want to add a border, just a plain, here it is, plain white border. You can kind of see, you know, it gives you a little preview there, 20 pixels. If you go ahead and hit OK, there it is. You see you added a little white border. That'll make it really easy to mat your photos. All right. Well, let's bring up another image real quick here. Okay, so say this image right here, you want to change some color correction on it. Go to image, go to color correction, and here you have your original and a preview of what your new one's going to look like. You can change your brightness. All right, you can mess around with your RGB, your red, green, and blues. To the right will increase red, to the left will decrease. All right, same thing with your green and your blue. Contrast, brighter whites, darker dark colors. So you can bring in that contrast and you can see how big of a difference that makes. Gamma correction, I seldom use this. Maybe a little bit I'll go I'll play around with that, but very seldom do I tweak too much with gamma correction. Saturation, quite a bit. All right, saturation is going to inject your photograph with more color, right? For more dynamic shots. You can see the difference there is quite great. Okay, once you're set, you can hit OK. Apply to original is going to change your original photograph. You don't want to do that. Just hit OK. Here is your new shot, and you can go ahead and just go to Save As. And you can go rename it whatever you'd like. Save as type. JPEG is, again, the most common. Save as JPEG, put it wherever you'd like, and hit save. Okay, and that'll be it. Very simple editing program. Not as the advanced options as GIMP or Photoshop or anything like that, but for basic cropping, editing, saturation, things like that. Again, if you want to go black and white, you can go into either convert to grayscale or color corrections and take the saturation completely out, and now you have a black and white photo. And then you can say, whoa, I need some more contrast. All right, maybe it's too dark. There we go. All right, so enjoy those, play around with those, become an expert, and good luck to you in your photographic endeavors.